Hello and welcome to the Potty Mouth Preacher. I am Lisa Czak, healing women's minds, bodies, and souls, one trigger at a time. Today is part 2 of April Mather's interview. If you missed it, go back to the previous episode so you can hear her entire story of her 10-year abusive marriage, the red flags she wished she had known during that time, what physical abuse actually looks like. It sounds obvious, it's not always obvious. What emotional, spiritual, psychological abuse looks like. You're going to get to hear her story in that previous episode, so go back and listen to that. And while we were in that episode, we were talking, of course, right, about triggers. Shocker, right? Given my tagline of healing women's minds, bodies, and souls, one trigger at a time. And she was talking about two things: containers and Eckhart Tolle, and how she still gets triggered by that. And when she was mentioning these containers, she had a visceral reaction. You know, she said her heart will start racing, and her heart was okay, but she started sweating profusely. And so while we were on the interview, I asked her, hey, you want to do a healing? Because I did not want to send her out into the world still feeling that, knowing that I could help her actually heal that trigger that has been hanging around for 10 years of her marriage, and then another 10 years after, right? This is 10 years after she's out of the abusive marriage. She is still having a visceral reaction. Drop in comments if you feel me on this. Do you get triggered still? Were you in an abusive situation and certain things years later trigger you? Maybe it wasn't abuse even, right? Maybe you just get triggered by something that happened years ago and you don't understand why. Like, you can feel it in your body. So in this episode, you are going to see me heal her in real time from something that hung around for 10 years. Well, actually more, like 20 years. So stay tuned. Okay, as always, I'm going to help you shift gears because I know you got a lot of things going on in your life. And it's just an important skill to learn in your life so that you don't jump from one thing to another and wonder why at the end of the day you feel like you're being pulled in a million different directions and losing your mind. So go ahead and close your eyes. Give me 3 deep cleansing breaths if you're able to. Really letting that shit out. Let all of that out. All of that anxiety, fear, doubt, overwhelm, whatever it is that's weighing heavy on your heart. Let it out with each deep exhale. And pretend like your device has a trap door on the back of it. And on that trap door, you're going to open it up and you're going to just picture yourself just throwing out on the outside of the device all of your labels and roles that you're happy to play, but sometimes you just want to be you, right? Sometimes you just want to be a woman. Sometimes I just want to be Lisa. Sometimes I don't want to be the potty mouth preacher. So, but not today, not right now. I actually do want to be the potty mouth preacher for you. So on each exhale, you're exhaling out your roles and responsibilities as wife, mother, daughter, sister, friend, employee, employer, student, stay-at-home mom, grandma, granddaughter, niece, just all of those labels. While you're at it, I know you got stuff weighing heavy on your heart, and we're going to heal that, okay? So right now, picture yourself just leaving that on the outside of the device because you don't need it in here. It'll still be there, right? That anxiety, that fear, that doubt, the overwhelm, the burnout, it's all still going to be there after this episode. So just leaving that on the outside of this device also. And then take another deep cleansing breath in, exhaling it out. And set your intention for how you want to feel during and after you leave, meaning you get done watching this episode. It's very important to remember that you and only you get to control how you want to feel, especially since we're talking about all of these things with abuse. It's important to remember that even though you might be in an abusive situation, that you and you alone get to control how you feel, right? He might think he can control everything in your life. He can't control how you feel. You have that power always. So set your intention. How do you want to feel during this and after? Peaceful, calm. So setting your intention and allowing that intention to just flow through every cell in your body so you carry it with you after you leave, meaning after you're done watching me. Knowing what you have still to do today and tonight, making sure that you're carrying that with you. And now name 3 things that you're grateful for, making sure one of those things has not happened yet, but you have full faith that if it's in your best interest, you have faith that it will happen. And allowing that love and gratitude and your intention to just flow through your whole body, again, so you take it with you after you leave here. And give me another deep cleansing breath in. Exhale out, open up your eyes. And now you can look at my new banner. I'm in a new studio, so I'm trying out some new looks. I got my book back there. If you have not read that yet, there's a whole story. People, if you look at the cover, it looks like a woman that simply, was a little chubby, and then she lost weight and she's wearing a pretty dress and all that. That's part of the story, right? The weight loss part. There's a whole nother story woven within that story about how a predatory producer groomed me for sex trafficking and sexual exploitation after I got into the best shape of my life. I have not been owning that part of my story, even though it's in the book, right? People have read about it. And I'm now owning it because we're doing this whole abuse series. So I know firsthand what it feels like to be abused. And I also know that you don't know you're being abused while you're being abused. And you're going to see that if you watch the last episode with April, she talked about that at length, right? Even with physical abuse, you're like, whoa, this can't possibly be happening. Anyway, if you have not ordered my book and read it yet, please do so. And don't forget to like, subscribe, rate, review, say something nice. I love to hear from you. Shoot me an email, write something in comments. I will get back to you. I promise I get back to everybody. So next, we're going to move on to celebrations. Those seemingly insignificant steps that you take along the way of your journey, your healing journey, just the journey we call life, that you might miss, right? Because you're noticing everything you do wrong. So it's all of the things that you're actually doing right that are leading you one step closer to being the woman that God created you to be, and you're celebrating those. At least 3 celebrations every night when you lay your head on the pillow instead of beating yourself up like maybe you have been doing. So my celebration is I'm celebrating that I am actually starting to own and talk more about what I just told you about, the other story that's woven within the weight loss part of my story, right? My story of narcissistic abuse, emotional abuse, psychological abuse, spiritual abuse, sexual abuse, all of it. So I'm starting to own that, and it's scary. So that's why I'm having women on actually this is like the first time that they're sharing their story publicly, like in a format like this. Even Melissa, when I had Melissa on and she talked about burnout, that was the first time she talked about really being burnt out. So if this describes you, drop in comments. Hey, I want to be on your podcast. I want healing. I want to tell my story for the first time because I'm really starting to highlight women who have been through the depths of hell and have now lived to tell it. That's basic. If that describes you, put a fire in comments. And I'm also celebrating the fact that April had the courage on live as we're recording, right? To be open enough and vulnerable enough, because as she will tell you, if you didn't hear in the first episode, I'll tell you now, she also was not always so open and wanting to just share how she was in an abusive marriage for 10 years. While she was in it, just like me, while I was in it, I didn't tell anyone. She didn't tell a soul either, right? Nobody knew until after the fact because she didn't even realize it. So I'm celebrating the fact that she has had the courage to say yes to healing, that yes, I want to heal this. And you're going to find out what that means. What does healing actually mean? You're going to find that out in this episode. So stay tuned. April's coming on. And we're going to heal that shit once and for all. And you're going to see what healing looks like in the moment. And you're going to be shocked at how quick it is. Quick, maybe a little painful, right? At times, because it's healing. Anyway, so let's get to it. And how do you, I'm big on like, where do you, like getting out of your mind and in your body. So I'm just curious, when you see those containers or hear Eckhart Tolle, where do you feel it in your body? Like, how do you know it's this feeling?
It's
Like,
my heart rate speeds up and I get sweaty. Like it's right now. I'm not, my heart rate is fine, but it
right now?
did when I was explaining it and I'm sweaty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So are you willing to just do a little healing right now on it? Like, I wasn't
Yeah.
planning on doing this, but
Yeah.
I would love to give you this
Yes.
gift. I feel like that. Do you have time? Because I know we're kind of going over, but
Yeah. I don't hear, my daughter seems okay. So yeah.
but even if we have to make this a 2-part series, because I can't let you get off here and not show you this technique that I got certified in, seriously,
Yeah.
because
I
it's
would love
miraculous. So I want you to go into your thinking brain for a minute,
it.
not long, okay? And say what you just said. Either it can be Eckhart Tolle or it can be the containers. Pick one or the other, right? Maybe both. I don't know.
Yeah. We're gonna go with that cart because that has more of a, ooh.
Okay. So so I want you to think about the fights that you would have, right? These horrible, whether they were violence to me is not just physical. It's even worse, emotional and psychologically. They leave scars we can't see.
I
So
agree.
you're
Yes.
right. That's really the damage,
I
because
can manage physical.
that's what lingers.
Yes.
And do you see how it's interesting too, that you've healed from if you bumped your head anymore, you're okay. But a
Yes.
container, or the Eckhart
Yeah.
Tolle, right? Because that's like the psychological and emotional. That's like a mind fuck in what he was
It
doing,
totally.
right?
Yes.
Right. I just like abused the shit out of you. Now I'm gonna play a beautiful author.
Yeah,
So
and so it takes me back to a situation where we're in his car, and we're driving, and so I can't get out, and I can't make it stop. I can't
yeah.
leave unless I jump, and I
So
have done that. I have.
and I sensed it when you were talking to me, because you started talking a little more rapidly. I sensed your breathing get different.
Yeah.
So now close your eyes and see where you feel that in your body. That fucking Eckhart Tolle being played and those stupid containers in the fridge. Put your hand where you feel it the most.
Okay, it's up here now.
Okay, now describe the physical sensation to me.
It feels clammy and like tight and like a pressure build.
Mm. And on a scale of 0 to 10, how intense is this feeling?
Maybe like a 7.
So this is going to sound counterintuitive. I want you to allow yourself to fully feel this feeling. As you know, as you described today on the show, really the only way to heal is to allow yourself to feel it, right? So stay out of your mind and stay in your body, in the physical sensation. Because if what we don't deal with physically, right, in our bodies, it comes out as physical symptoms, and we don't want that to happen anymore. So just allow yourself to really feel the clamminess, and let it grow and expand. Let it move if it needs to. I've had a lot of women, when I do these healing sessions, they will tell me they feel like they're going to die because the pain is so intense. I promise you, you're not going to die. And in fact, the more intense you can feel it, the quicker healing is. That's the other thing, though. You are not trying to make it go away. Okay, because we have this feeling, right? You're describing it to me. So I am so proud of how courageous you are, just sharing your whole story and even sharing something that's physically you're having a visceral reaction to, a PTSD trauma response to, and you're sharing it with me on this show. I'm so, so proud of you for your courage in doing that. And so just allow yourself to really feel it, and you keep your eyes closed so that all of the energy is going to it. And I want you, this sounds counterintuitive, I want you to send that feeling love, because it represents a part of you that's craving love and attention, not in a needy way, right? Not in that kind of way. Simply, it's a part of you that's saying, hey, I need some healing. I need someone to recognize that this is so fucking painful for me. Every time I see that damn container, and that container came up, that's a trigger, right? Triggers are gifts, not wrapped up in shiny packages with bows on top kind of gifts, but clues to where you still need healing. So describe now to us what's happening in your body.
Oh. Well, I feel tearful, and I feel like the love is making me feel tearful.
So allow the tears to flow. Don't hold back your tears. As you know, April, I wrote a book called Portal Tears, right? Because those literally transport you out of one place and into another place. And they're transporting you out of this unhealed, this wounded state, right, into a healed state. So just allow the tears to flow and just stay in your body, though. So what else, what's happening in your body where you had your hand initially?
Well, it's so this space has moved out into my arms. Um and there was a pressure building and this like rage.
Mm.
Um and so now it's feeling let me just one second, let me just feel it feels like it's retracting back. So the I don't know how to explain it. Went out from my chest to my all the way down my arms to my hands in like this really big rage, pressure,
Mm.
expansion feeling. And so with the love and tears, um, it's starting to soften in my hands and my fingers, and it feels like it's coming back, if that makes
Mm-hmm.
sense. Like it's
Mm-hmm.
softening back up.
So put your hand where you feel it the most. I call that the eye of the storm, meaning
Well,
where you feel the most intensity, and describe the physical sensation there.
this feels hot.
A bad kind of hot.
No. Um, hot, warm and fuzzy, tingly.
So more of a nice feeling.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
It's like
so
it was tense and now it feels like what I'm feeling, this like tingly, buzzy kind of is what is left as my muscles relax from that intense
mhm.
like rage contraction.
So
I'm
just
also
allow,
like covered
go
in
ahead.
sweat.
So now I'm going to have you test it a little. What I mean by that, it's not to be cruel, right? But while I have you in this safe little bubble, I want you to think about the thing that was distressing you to begin with. I don't want to say it. I want you to think in your mind and say out loud if there's anything like what we were talking about initially. And if you feel anything in your body when you think about it.
No, I don't feel anything in my body. I feel, annoyance, but it's more like it's definitely not as intense.
Okay, where do you feel the annoyance in your body?
It's up here.
Okay, so
It's
put your
the
hand there and allow yourself to feel. You see how it's layered, right? It's like
yes.
we go, it's like, okay, I don't feel the initial feeling I felt. Now it's this. That's what happens with healing. As you know, like you said, you're peeling back layers. And I
Mhm,
would encourage anyone that's watching this or listening to this, if there's something very distressing happening in your life right now, think about that distressing situation, circumstance, person, and then get out of your mind and go into your body and see where you feel it in your body. Put your hand where you feel it the most, like April is doing. Describe the physical sensation. That helps you get out of your mind and stay in your body. And then on a scale of 0 to 10, telling yourself how intense it is. And then this is the key, not trying to make it go away or be any different than it is. Accepting it, allowing it to just simply be, allowing yourself to really feel the feeling inside your body and sending it love. So, April, tell us what the physical sensation feels like in your head.
I mean, it's kind of improving. So it was feeling that tense feeling. I guess now it feels more like, dust settling.
Mm, that's great imagery.
Mhm.
And notice we don't have to analyze why you're feeling this or talk about it, right? Because we've been doing that. Like we live in our minds so much, right? We think, overthink it, we analyze it, we go back, we beat ourselves up. This is giving your mind a break and allowing your body to see, because everything we feel, all these emotions, all these experiences live in our body somewhere.
Mhm.
And this is especially true with any kind of abuse, right? Because you're in survival mode for so long and it's
Yeah.
living in your body somewhere.
It's in your yes, it's in your tissues. It's just
Hmm.
that's how it kept coming back with the physical bumping my head. It was just right there. And then I would get mad and feel ashamed that
Hmm.
that emotion was still so fresh
Hmm.
after so long. My head feels better.
So now I want you to think about, let's just, let's talk about the containers. Think about those containers and see
Mm,
if you feel anything in your body.
irritating.
Okay, where do you feel the irritation? This is why we keep testing it, right?
Yeah.
Because so that when you leave here and you see those containers, right? It's nothing. You might as well just be saying, I don't know, like dust. Like it means nothing to you.
That they're like here. They're like in this
So describe the physical sensation.
spinning.
So allow it to spin, allow it to grow, contract, move, whatever that feeling wants to do, give it permission. On a scale of 0 to 10, how intense is the spinning?
Like a 4.
So let it be a 4, not wanting to make it go away. It's just like, when your daughter was young, or even now, she's 7, right? If she's crying about something, you don't necessarily love the crying, right? But you
Mhm.
can still send her love.
Mhm.
That's what you're doing for yourself. You're sending yourself, even though you don't like the spinning feeling, you can still send that feeling love. This is like true self love, self care. This is self-parenting also. And just allow, because you had years of abuse, even though there's been a chunk of time in between that happened, right? That was still a long period of time where you weren't allowed to feel how you were really feeling. You weren't allowed to do anything.
Mhm.
And so now it's giving yourself permission to feel in your body what it probably wanted to feel back then, but you just couldn't, and it wasn't safe to.
No,
What's happening now in your body?
I'm kind of testing. I don't know, this seems to be how I'm testing it by moving my hands. It feels, I think the spinning's gone.
So let's test it again. When you think about those containers, do you feel anything in your body?
No, I don't.
You don't feel anything?
No.
Look at that. So go ahead and open your eyes. So that's a technique. I want you to practice that. I wasn't planning on doing any of this, by the
Yeah.
way. It just came up. I was
And
like,
I'm all about healing and growth, so I will take any
uh,
opportunity.
so it's about healing one trigger at a time. That's really what it is, right? And so now I want you to have this attitude of welcoming those stupid containers. Maybe even buy some of those containers.
I should do it.
Seriously. And saying to yourself, bring it on, bitches. I'm ready.
Trust
I
me.
have tools, right? Knowing that peace is inevitable. So let me ask you this, like we did this whole thing, you got yourself to a place of peace, right? You started off as a 7 and
Mhm.
down to like a what? Maybe
Yeah, I don't I mean,
you don't feel anything.
I don't yeah, the containers feel fine.
Right.
That feels like a 0.
And yet, so I want to point something out. Yeah, that experience still happened, right? It's not like you changed it. You didn't change we didn't go back in time and change the experience, right? We didn't change the abuse. The containers are still out there for sale somewhere, right? It's
Still there,
like,
guys. You can still
right. But yet you have a sense of peace about it. And so knowing that in each moment, if you look at healing, if you think to yourself, oh my God, what if I never the rest of my life? What if every time I see those containers, I get triggered? It's too overwhelming, right? All you
Mhm.
can do is focus on like one trigger, like how you're feeling at a time.
Yeah.
Welcome the chance to practice what I just taught you. And I'm telling you, all of a sudden, one day, you're going to look at you'll be in Target or somewhere, you'll see those stupid containers and you'll laugh. And you'll
Yeah.
go, huh? Remember when those containers set me off? And
Yeah.
that's the miracle part. And that's like the practicing, like saying, okay, yeah, I'm ready. Bring on the triggers. I don't care. Like
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
can handle it.
Yes, and I like this tool. I like it for the fact that it gives space. It gives safe space and permission to feel the feeling in your
Mhm.
body, and I also like the act of sending it love.
Yeah,
I I
it's
really felt
counterintuitive, right?
yeah, yeah,
Because we have this like, oh, resist it, make it go away. I don't want to feel this.
yeah.
Instead of just accepting, like a baby, think of it like your baby, when your baby's crying, right? You don't throw the baby out. You
No,
don't go
no.
out the window. I don't want to feel you. Get out. I don't want to.
Yeah,
No, we sit with the baby. We rock the baby. And it's like a way of sitting and acknowledging, getting out of here though, and into your head. I mean, into your body. You can do the same thing. I'm going to give you soul work. You can do the same thing with Eckhart Tolle. You can put one of his things on and
ugh,
see where you feel it in your body. Maybe don't do that yet. First, think about it, see where you feel it in your body, and do like what we just did,
yeah.
you
I can
know.
see this. I can see me getting to a point with this because I've done
Mhm,
this with other things. Not this exercise, but I have got
mhm,
to the point where I can talk about some of these things without feeling
mhm,
triggered. So I can see that there is a
mhm.
light at the end of the tunnel, and I can see
Oh,
this would.
you know what we should do is we should have you on. Well, maybe we'll turn this into 2 episodes. I don't know. I'll talk to the producer and see, because I wasn't planning on going this long. I wasn't planning on doing this. There's
It's
no
so
way
much.
I could have gotten off this call though with I
Yeah,
felt it. I felt your breathing. Your whole energy changed. I was like, okay, we're going here. Like I
yeah,
cannot
yeah,
let her get off the call.
yeah. It'll be
My
interesting
whole
to rewatch. Yeah.
yeah, it
Yes.
will be.
Yes.
But we can have you on for a part 2, because this will keep you accountable to actually practicing this, right? And we can have you on for a part 2 and see how you feel now about those containers and Eckhart Tolle and anything else, like any other trigger that comes
Yeah.
up.
Yes. Yeah. I do have more. Those aren't the only two.
I was gonna say, if you only have 2 triggers, right? Like most
Yeah.
people come to me with a list. This is what I need to heal, Lisa.
Yes. 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 And
Oh
then
my
never mind the
gosh.
emotional, like the emotional triggers of and like abandonment or like these like other core, the
I'm
ones that
telling you,
rule your
yeah,
life.
keep practicing this seriously.
Yeah.
Like keep practicing it. Steve's gonna be like, what did you do? You were on there for an hour. I think it's amazing though. Let's just end with, okay, if you had to pick the most valuable advice you could give someone, because there's a woman, we both know there's at least one woman, right? Unfortunately, many more probably, they're going to watch this and they see themselves in some part of the story, right? They see the situation that they're in, but that denial is going to start kicking in, right? Yeah, but he didn't really do that, or he's not as bad as that guy, or
Yeah.
what advice do you have for them?
So many things I want to say.
Like, what would be
Well,
the first step? Like, what would be the first, like, in other words, I guess really the question is, if you could go back and tell your younger self, your 19-year-old self, right? What would you want to tell her?
my 19-year-old self, I would say if someone, even if you love them, if someone wants you to be different, a different person than what lights you up, wants you to do something other than the job that lights you up, or seeing the friends that light you up, or wearing the clothes that light you up, even if they have like a really good reason, something's wrong there. Something's off there. Pay attention to it. Have a conversation with them. And if it's just a miscommunication and it resolves, like, okay, cool. But if it doesn't resolve and it starts to feel like you can't be you, or you're having to cover things up or hide things, um, yeah, there's watch that. Leave, please, leave.
Mhm.
You deserve better. And but one of the biggest things for me was I believed him that I couldn't do better, or I couldn't get better, or the elements of him
Mhm.
that I liked, I wouldn't be able to find in someone else. I wouldn't be able to find somebody who was spiritual, or who liked meditating, or who was ready to have kids and didn't already have kids by the time they were 30, which is a joke now.
Mhm.
Um, but it was believe that whatever you want and they're telling you you can't have if you leave, they're just completely wrong. You
I
can
love
create
that.
anything you want. Anything.
Perfect. I
Yeah.
I love that you're going back to like the initial stages. That,
Yeah.
right? Because it sounds like even back then you're like, huh. Have you noticed that anytime you go, huh,
Yeah.
that
Hmm.
doesn't feel right.
Hmm.
That is so subtle. It's so
Yeah.
subtle.
And it doesn't feel big at the beginning. And it feels like, well,
Mhm.
this is like silly to pick a fight over this or to break up over this. You can, you, so I'm a relationship coach now. You can literally break up with someone for any reason. You can break up with someone because you just changed your mind. you don't need a good enough reason to give them or give your parents or give your family, or you can do it just because you felt the feeling, and you don't have to explain that to anyone. It doesn't have to be a big thing like happened to me. It can be he wanted me to change my shampoo because he didn't like the smell of it, and that compounded with changing my clothes and not being able to drive or whatever. It just felt not right. That's
I
enough.
love that. And I absolutely love that you are now a relationship coach. So
Yes.
if anyone out there, seriously, if anyone out there, like you just said, you just feel a little off in your relationship, something's going on. How do you want people to contact you if they want to get, or they just want to talk to you about their
Yeah.
story or just whatever, it doesn't have, like you said, it doesn't have to be an abusive situation. You just
Yeah.
feel something is off.
Yeah.
Please hire April. Like,
Yeah.
I can't imagine, right? Like I
Yes.
always say that I would never hire like a relationship coach or a therapist, someone who hasn't been through hell and back.
Yes. Yes. Talk to someone who has been there because we know. We know what's normal and not normal.
So
Yeah.
how can people get in touch with you then? And do you
Yeah.
work with just women or men and women? What couples?
Yeah. Right now, I'm just working with women, although just freshly in the last month, I've had a lot of requests to work with couples. So that might be something in my future.
Perfect.
But right now it's just women. The best way to reach me is Instagram. I'm at April Mather, Mather.xo. You can binge on my stuff. You can send me
I
a
have.
message. Yeah. Yeah, there's lots of educational and maybe some funny, humorous things in there too. If you don't have that platform or don't want to message there, you can also email me, april@aprilmather.com. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. All right. Thank you so much again, April, for being on. I can't wait for this to air. It's going to be just so valuable to so many people out there. So, if you are interested in healing that one thing that you just like, you're like a dog with a bone and you just can't let it go, right? It could be from like April, the aftermath of abuse. It could be something you're currently going through right now. If you want to get to a place of peace around, that's what healing is. Healing is getting yourself to a place of peace about it so it no longer haunts you, so you're no longer bound to negativity. It's like bondage, right? April had this bondage to her ex-husband and those, what she called those stupid containers, right? That trigger her every time. If this sounds like something you want healing from, click the link below and join Worthy Woman Healing Group. We meet twice a month. And then we're all going to go on a retreat in 2024. If you don't want the retreat, you can just do the group twice a month. Let the healing begin. Click the link below. Okay, so you guys just finished watching this episode where in real time, April had a trigger that happened, right? Triggers happen to us all the time. They're like emotional landmines. You never know when they're going to come up, what's going to happen. In April, this happened while we were in our interview. So, of course, I'm not just going to let her sit in her trigger, right? Let her sit in the bomb forever. And so, April is back with me today. I can't thank you enough for coming back on, April. But first, I want to thank you for having the courage to do that because let's just make it clear we did not plan that,
No,
right?
yes, yes, that was not planned. That
Right.
was,
I
yeah.
didn't say to you, hey, by the way, give me a list of your triggers. I'm going to heal them.
I know.
And so the fact that you did that so courageously and you were so open and so real to do that in real time like that, I have such admiration for you. I'm just holding you up here because there's so many women that are afraid to go there, right? Like I was asking you to relive this horrible pain
Mhm.
and you
Yeah.
had the courage to do it, which is why, by the way, I'm going to mention again, you are an amazing relationship coach. I feel like
Thank
we didn't stress that enough. Like I, I want to stress that too, is that you not only got yourself out of a 10-year abusive marriage, relationship.
Mhm.
You've turned your life around and you've turned your pain into purpose.
Yeah.
And you now help other women. Maybe they're not. A lot of the women you work with, it's not abusive, right?
Right.
Simply unhappy.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you
Simply
help
unhappy.
them. I can't stress this enough. You guys have got to go on her Instagram. Your Instagram is what?
aprilmather.xo.
Yeah, Steve will put it up there. But you
Thank you.
have to, like, she's addictive. Like, I get addicted. Like, I start watching and I can't stop watching.
Oh,
Yes.
thank you. I'm glad. Yeah.
Even if you're not in the space where, oh, I'm thinking about leaving my husband or I'm having issues, like it's helped me in my relationship. Like, oh wow, I see myself in that. That's a hard one when you see yourself. There's so many posts you do. I'm like, damn it. Does she know? Does she have cameras in my house? So anyway, so see, we got off track. But I just wanted to make that super clear that you guys just heard her story. If you didn't listen to it, go back to part 1 and listen to Healing from Abuse, and you'll hear the horror, right? Being
Yeah.
knocked unconscious by your husband, being choked from behind so there's no marks left. Like, these
Yeah.
are serious things. And you not only got yourself out of it, you just completely turned your life around and now you help other women. I love that.
Yeah. 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 I'm so thankful that I'm in a place, because it certainly didn't happen in the early years, but I'm so thankful that I'm in a place now where I feel comfortable to share it, because I know I've healed enough to the point where I
Mhm.
feel comfortable sharing it. And I know the value, and I know that someone, hopefully even just one person, hears it and feels like a little twinge of, okay, I can do that. I can do that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Right, if you did it, they can do it.
Yeah.
So, what happens though, as you saw in the episode, there's an aftermath of abuse, right?
Mhm.
Or any traumatic event in your life. Doesn't have to be abuse, but there's an aftermath of these triggers, these emotional landmines that pop up at the most inopportune times, like when you're in an
Like it.
podcast interview, sharing your story for the
Yeah.
first time on a podcast, right?
Yeah, why not?
So we did the heal. So why don't you just recap a little bit, just what the trigger was and what the healing was like for you? Like, be honest, right? I'm all about
Yeah.
honesty
Yeah.
because I really
Mhm.
want women to understand like what that was like for you to actually go there and do that healing. And now it's been a month later.
Mhm.
So it's a month later. And so tell everyone, how are you doing now with that trigger? Have you had opportunities to practice it? Do you feel like you're healed from it? And again, I want honesty here because we're
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
going to give you that honesty. Okay.
Yeah. No,
So
I
let's start.
honesty. Yeah, honesty is valuable, because I don't like it when anybody gets into any kind of healing modality or healing therapy and then has unrealistic expectations. It's going to vary, right?
Mhm.
So, yes, so we were my triggers, the 2 triggers that popped up were these. The first one was store vegetable and fruit storage containers in a fridge, which sounds silly and, unimportant, really, but this was a big if you can think about it, this was a big part of my life. Open the refrigerator door every day. My then husband had purchased tons of those Fridge Smart Tupperware containers with the ridges on the bottom and the colored tops. And there's those little vents. So maybe you've seen these before, maybe you have them. This is specifically what I'm talking about, all different shapes and sizes. And I hated them. I hated them, and when I saw them or saw an ad for them or was at somebody's house and I saw it in the fridge, it just created this horrible visceral reaction. I felt sick to my stomach. It was just instantly like I was back, and all of the emotions that came not with the fridge but with the relationship were right there and fresh. The other one was about Eckhart Tolle. I'm sorry to Mr. Eckhart Tolle. I don't think there's anything wrong with him. I think he has lovely teachings, but I could not stand listening to him, because my then husband would force me to listen to his audio recordings when we were in a fight, and he felt that I needed help to get back on track and not feel angry anymore. at his abuse, essentially.
Yeah,
Um,
let's make that clear for a second.
yeah,
He would abuse you. Let's just say
yeah,
he would abuse you,
yeah,
mind, body, and soul, and then
yeah.
force you to listen to this
Yes, so
calm
I
down.
could stop overreacting. So that
So yeah, we can see why maybe you have some feelings towards Eckhart Tolle.
yeah, yeah, I
Yeah,
think maybe one day I'll meet him in real life, and it will be like a full circle. I don't know.
that'd be
Um,
really cool,
it
actually.
would be, right? It would.
Maybe we'll
Um,
write to him.
yeah, yeah. So what happened was we did the healing, and it was hard in the moment. I've done enough difficult, healing type work for me to be, able and accepting, let's say, to have the healing in a setting like this, and I wouldn't have said yes earlier on in my experience, of course, but
Wait, let me ask you a question real quick.
yeah,
Did you have, because we do know each other, but we know each other as colleagues,
yes,
right? Not as client, coach, or anything like that.
yeah,
And you had no idea, as far as I know, you had no idea what I even meant when I said, "Do you want a healing on that?" Did
no,
you?
no,
Right. I
no,
wasn't sure.
I just trusted
And
you.
and
Like,
so
yeah,
did you
yeah.
feel nervous at all? Like, be honest, did you feel nervous? Did any anxiety or just, feeling come up? What am I doing?
Um, no, I don't think so, but it's hard to tell, to be honest,
Mhm,
because I was sweaty and activated from the trigger. So, it's hard to tell because I think
mhm,
it was just that. I think it was just that. Um, there was definitely annoyance, the feeling of annoyance and irritation when talking about those 2 things, so maybe some discomfort knowing that those things were going to be continued to be spoken about during the healing. It was just like,
mhm.
"Oh, okay, I
That's
can."
great. That's great insight for people to understand, because 'cause I've never asked anyone that. It's
Yeah,
very few people that I have, like, done healings with in the moment like I did with you, because usually it's their clients that are bringing up past things. You know what I mean? We're
mm,
purposely going there. And
mhm,
so it was kind of interesting for me. I've never actually asked anyone because they all say yes. If I like, I'm talking about strangers too, like strangers I don't
absolutely.
know at the gym that I've done healings on. They're having panic attacks in the moment. And I'll just say, "Do you want a healing? Do you want to be healed?" Or I say something like that. And they all say yes. And I'm always
Yeah.
like, "You don't even know me." Like it's I don't think about it till after though, and I always think, "I wish I," and then I don't see them again, right? They're strangers. They go, I don't know where they go. I don't see them again. I wish God would send them back to me so I could ask them what I'm asking you. Did you have any
Yeah,
nervousness? Right?
yeah, yeah. What happened? What happened after? I want the rest of the
Exactly.
story.
Like my clients I can ask, but they come to me and pay me knowing that we're going to be doing a heal, right?
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah,
But so this is so fascinating to me. Okay, so go on.
yeah. So I would say that, probably the week after the healing, I would think about it on purpose, both the containers and the Eckhart. I would think about it on purpose to, kinda see how I felt about it. And I definitely still have some work and some practice to continue with Eckhart. So that one must be deeper, which is fine. But I don't care about the containers anymore. And I know I wasn't even telling Lisa this. I I was actually starting to think maybe I should maybe I should invest in some of those and see if they are better for the
Oh my God, I feel a part three coming on. And then April buys the containers. Can you see the part
opening
three?
the fridge for the first time.
Oh my God, we're totally doing this. It's happening.
And it still feels a little like, "Am I actually considering that?" But I don't have any I don't feel any negative emotion about it. I have remembrance of it,
Mhm.
but I don't
Whoa.
feel like it's, like,
So
really wrong.
people are always asking me this. How do I know when I'm healed?
Mhm,
Exactly
mhm.
what you said. It's a
Yeah,
memory with no emotion attached to it, no visceral reaction, no
yeah,
react.
yeah,
That's just a fancy word for those of you out here. Why are they throwing around that word? That just means you feel it in your body. So there's no
yeah.
more. So when you were, I'm curious to know, because I don't remember, this has been a month ago. So I was on a scale of 0 to 10. How intense was the sweating and the sensations in your body when we
Oh,
were in the interview, when we talked about the containers?
I don't remember specifically what I said, but I would say upon reflection and knowing how I felt about those containers, I would say like a 9 or 10. It was very
Yeah.
and that's how it usually shows up for me.
Mhm.
It's heat. I'm sure my
Yeah.
blood pressure skyrockets, very sweaty, very wanting to air things out, and heart racing, and I would say that was pretty strong. Um,
And what
yeah.
about now on
Oh,
a scale of 0 to 10?
like 0. Like, I don't even yeah.
And you
Like,
see how quick that was?
yeah, yeah,
Like it's not, it doesn't have to take forever. Like you could go to therapy. Well, you did, right? You went to
yeah,
therapy.
yeah.
I've been in therapy, right? I'm in therapy right now just to see the difference. I'm like, I'm not getting anything out of this people.
Mm,
Like all we're
yeah,
doing is talking. Like, where are the
yeah,
results?
yeah,
Where's the
it tends to be rehashing, right? And I
Mhm.
need to have like, how do we move forward from this? I can tell the same
Mhm.
story over and over again, but I don't wanna sit here. I like, in the feeling, I mean. I don't mind sitting in the room or in the space, but,
Right.
I don't
Well,
know.
I am so glad to hear that, and I'm so thankful that you were willing to come back so that in this episode we can show, because I've never done this before. I love this. This might be a new thing I do, right? Where
It's
I bring
great.
people on and do a healing, and then I bring them back like a month later to see, and it gives me feedback too, and it gives
Mhm.
you feedback, right? That's what I was saying, the honesty thing, because if it is still coming up, okay, great, that's no problem. Just have more
Yeah,
healing to do. Like you don't have to be
yeah,
afraid of it.
and it's like, being totally honest that, like, the container is, like, nothing. I don't even care about them, and like I said, I'm considering, like, what if they might actually be helpful? Should I research that? And some humble feelings coming in there. But the Eckhart Tolle thing, it
Mhm.
does need more work. It does I do need to practice that more because it's not fully cleared. Um, it probably is a little better, but there's still I don't wanna listen to him. I don't wanna hear his
No.
voice, so it shouldn't
Well,
be that.
in that episode, this is also good feedback for me because in that episode, you named those 2 things as like your main triggers right now. And I unintentionally just kind of naturally focused on the containers. I don't know why, right?
Yeah,
And so that, because I don't usually do healing, help someone heal from 2 triggers at once, you know.
right.
But I was
Yes.
curious to see, just out of curiosity, since those were the 2 that maybe there was some residual healing about the Eckhart Tolle. But it gives
Yeah,
me now information going forward. Like, no, I'm gonna stick to healing 1 trigger at a time for women just
yeah.
because it's obviously much more effective. I feel like the Eckhart Tolle thing was kind of like hanging out in the background,
Yeah,
but your
yeah,
body, like, that's a lot, those are 2 major things to heal at once. So I just want people to understand that, you don't have to overwhelm yourself. I don't know if I told you, I have people that come to me with like a list of triggers. Can we heal all these at once? No.
oh,
No, we
I don't
can't.
think
We do one at a
yeah.
time. So anyway, that's really good feedback. And like I said, if you're willing, love to have you back and just focus solely on Eckhart Tolle and see what comes up. And if you're having resistance about doing that, we can do a healing on that first. So when people come to me and say, I don't know if I can do that right now because it's a big thing, like you said, it's a big, heavy thing, right? And if you have that resistance, so first we heal that. Like, so
Yeah,
for you, what I would say now, I wasn't planning on doing this either. We're not doing a healing now, but the technique, right? Or you can always go back and watch the episode.
mhm.
So when you have that resistance come up, maybe like I'm not ready to heal Eckhart Tolle, see where you feel the resistance in your body and
Yeah, that's
heal
a
that.
okay, yeah. I'll work on that because I think I resonate with that. I think it's the resistance I can tell a story that I have too much going on to focus. You know, I
Right.
can tell a good story to myself. I think we all can.
That's
Um,
what I was saying to you because we're
yeah,
messaging back and forth.
yeah,
But I didn't want to say it for you, right? But
yeah,
I know that like it's because I've lived it, girl. I can come
yeah,
up with a million reasons why I don't want to go back and visit pain. Nobody
yeah,
wants to go. That's our brain too, like protecting
yeah.
us. Your brain is saying, no, we're
No,
not
why
going
would we
back
do
there.
that?
You already lived it once. Why do you want to relive it again?
Yeah.
So, well, just think about it. And again, I can't thank you enough for coming back on. And do you have any soul work for women out there who are being triggered, that there's emotional landmines just happening all over, right? Do you
Mm,
have any soul work? Because I always give soul work at the end. I mean, my soul work for them is to go back and watch this episode, do the
mhm,
technique that, I taught you to do to heal that trigger. But just you being a beautiful relationship coach, because we talked about that at the beginning of this. Do you have any advice? Like, what would be your main piece of advice, soul work you'd want to give somebody
yeah.
who's being triggered specifically in the relationships? Because that's what you're working with. Toxic, abusive, it doesn't matter, whatever. They're just being triggered in the relationship.
Actually, I have something really topical because I just hosted a master class called Calm Codes, and it was about nervous system regulation within the context of challenging relationships or navigating issues in relationships. And it goes into, if we're getting triggered all the time, especially in repeated type arguments, the same argument or style of argument is coming up. It's hard to think clearly in a relationship or in the heat of the moment about a solution. It's hard to find kind words to offer the other
Mhm.
person. And I think we all know that the way that we speak to someone will influence the way that they respond to us, right? If I say something snappy back to you, it's probably not going to be well received, and I'm going to get a snappy answer back. But if I'm able to craft calmer and more neutral words, I'm probably going to get a better, more constructive response, and then we can work through it. But if you're feeling that trigger in your body, it's hard to think clearly because your body is in this stressful situation, right? So I don't know. I think I'm just going to offer, I have lots of different ways to do that. I think you probably do this too, Lisa, with regulating techniques. But just the vagal nerve is in behind your throat here and kind of goes down your chest, and that's what really needs to be relaxed. You can put an ice pack here, and that will help.
Really?
Yeah, that will help.
This
Yeah. Or like up around here, but it's right in here.
an
So you
ice
can
pack
ice
right
pack.
here.
Yeah, and it will somatically, like through your body, it will help relax you so that you can have better, clearer, more intentional conversations in your relationship. So it's less brainy. I have those tools as well, but if you're getting those triggers, um, to find a way to calm your body down so that you can think clearly.
Oh my God, I love this so much. I can just see me like grabbing my ice out of my drink, pouring my drink down my shirt. Next
Yes,
time I get
yes,
into a fight with
ice.
my husband, try to
Straight.
hold on. I love it because it's so practical and it's something that you can just do quickly.
Yeah,
That is so valuable. So
yeah,
I'm gonna try that because I'm
yeah.
sure I have
Try
a
it.
lot of opportunities to do that. And oh my gosh, that's amazing.
Yeah, yeah. It's not one of my usual, like, how can we speak more
Mhm,
clearly? And there's a time and a place for that, but there's also a time and a place when you can't. You can't think clearly because your body is having
mhm.
this argument again. Why is this happening every time? Then that's
How
the
did
calm.
you figure that out?
I did a lot of research, took courses and reading. So it's polyvagal. There's a really good book called Polyvagal Exercises, I believe. It's a little
Mhm.
clinical, but if you don't mind that, you can look through there, and there's lots of different ways to calm your nervous system that way.
I'm gonna tell my youngest brother because he has a lot of vagal nerve responses. He's had he's been to the Mayo Clinic. It got
Oh,
so bad. And I'm gonna tell him that because it activates itself in times of stress.
mhm.
And like
In
weird times too.
if he wants to get that book, if he's okay reading kind of clinical information, there's a somatic section, so things to do with the body that
Mm-hmm.
you can use, exercises and practices. And I believe that there's more of a written section, so like journal prompts and things like that. But I really, if you can get away from the journaling prompts and more
Mm-hmm.
into the body when you're feeling this way, I know journaling prompts feels easier because that's what we always want to do. We want to fix it with our logic brain, but it's really the nervous system is asking to calm down.
Oh my gosh, girl, my head has exploded. I feel like you're going to be my favorite guest here. I want to have you back. Will you come back on and talk, not today, but
Yeah,
talk about this calm
yeah,
codes?
for sure.
That
Yes,
would
yeah.
be amazing.
Yeah, I can provide some more tools too and some more
Oh
ideas.
my gosh. Let's
Yeah, for sure.
plan. Let's go ahead and plan that.
Okay.
So I just So, your soul work is actually, I want you to think about maybe you have been abused, maybe you haven't been abused, right? All of us, trauma is on a spectrum. And so, I want you to think about something that has just been nagging at you for years, right? That you just can't, you're like a dog with a bone. You can't let that shit go, whatever it is. And I want you to do what I did with April in this episode, where you go inside your body, you find it, you feel it, you love it, you heal it. Okay? That's your soul work. And to always remember, you are worth it.